legacy of leadership, celebrating 40 years of excellence and innovation. Welcome to the flag-off of activities for the 40th anniversary celebration of the Institute of Directors Nigeria. Founded in 1983, the Institute of Directors IOD Nigeria has been a cornerstone of leadership development and a leading voice for directors for the past 40 years, a trailblazer in promoting corporate governance, professional standards, and ethical conduct in leadership and businesses. The Institute has been shaped by numerous visionary leaders over the past 40 years, and these leaders have left indelible marks on the organization, establishing a legacy of excellence and innovation that has helped shape the business landscape in Nigeria and beyond. Since its inception in 1983, IOD Nigeria has had 17 presidents, each of whom left their footprint on the organization and the business world at large. The very first president in the annals of IOD Nigeria is late Chief Anofi Gubadia, DF-IOD. Late Chief Gubadia was a foremost industrialist and the founding president and chairman of the governing council of the Institute of Directors Nigeria. He served as president for 8 years, from 1983 to 1991. During his tenure, he led other eminent co-founders to establish the Institute of Directors Nigeria as a branch of IOD UK precisely on Tuesday, May 17, 1983. As the Isaac Borioba of Benin, he was also the first president and district governor of Rotary International in Nigeria. Late Chief Anofi Gubadia passed on in the year 2013. The second president was late Chief Mrs. Olutoyin Olakunri, OFR-DF-IOD. She was the first female chartered accountant in sub-Saharan Africa and the second president and chairman of the governing council of the Institute from 1991 to 1993. Late Chief Mrs. Olakunri was a pioneer member of IOD Nigeria. The rapid building and strengthening of the Institute in the formative years were given new impetus by this second and first female president of the Institute. She was an erudite chartered accountant and seasoned administrator. Late Chief Olakunri passed away in the year 2018. Late Alhaji Ali Baba, DF-IOD, was a third president and chairman of the governing council of the Institute from 1993 to 1995. He was a pioneer member of the Institute, a nationalist, a business magnate of repute, and a one-time Federal Minister of Internal Affairs during the Second Republic. In his tenure, Alhaji Baba improved the Institute's visibility, especially in the northern region of the country. Alhaji Ali Baba was succeeded by late Alhaji Amusa Oladimeji Badamosi Otiti, OON DF-IOD. Alhaji Amusa Otiti was a former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria and the fourth president and chairman of the governing council of the Institute of Directors Nigeria from 1995 to 1997. Late Pa Otiti was generally regarded as the doyen of banking in Nigeria, considering his immeasurable contributions to an industry he served meritoriously both in his active days and even in retirement. His tenure opened up the Institute to more business professionals. Alhaji Otiti passed on in the year 2020. Thereafter, late Oba Oladele Olasore, CON DF-IOD, Owaloko of Iloko Ijesha, emerged as late Alhaji Otiti's successor. Late Oba Oladele Olasore was a renowned banker, educationist, and the Owaloko of Iloko Ijesha. He was the fifth president and chairman of the governing council of the Institute from 1997 to 1999. He was the former managing director of the International Bank for West Africa, later AfriBank, and First Bank of Nigeria. He was also a Federal Minister of Finance in Nigeria. During his tenure, the first branch of the Institute, which was one of the aspirations of the governing council, was launched in Kaduna State with the enhancement of membership benefits. Oba Olasore passed on in the year 2012. Thereafter, Mr. Emmanuel Ijewere, DF-IOD, became the sixth president and chairman of the governing council of the Institute from 1999 to 2001. Mr. Emmanuel Ijewere is the current doyen of the past president of the Institute, a foremost chartered accountant with a wealth of experience spanning over 5 decades and former president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. His tenure as the 6th president of IOD led to the improved corporate visibility of the Institute and its pronounced leadership in the business community. Also, IOD Secretariat was relocated from a 3-bedroom apartment in Victoria Island to a compound of 4 buildings in Ikoyi, Lagos. Succeeding Mr. Emmanuel Ijewere was Shetima Umar Abagana, DFIOD. Shetima Umar served as the 7th president and chairman of the Governing Council of the Institute from 2001 to 2003. He is the former acting chairman of the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission, RMAFC. His emergence brought about increased membership benefits for members of the Institute. During his tenure, the Institute enjoyed concessionary discounts from airlines, lounges, and hotels. Shetima Abagana was succeeded by Ms. Benedicta Moloku, DFIOD. She was the 8th president and chairman of the Governing Council of the Institute from 2003 to 2005. She was the 2nd female president of the Institute in its then 20 years of existence. Her tenure inspired the birth of the 2nd branch of the Institute in the Federal Capital Territory, which has contributed immensely to the national spread and mission fulfillment of the Institute. She masterminded the formal launching of the IOD Center for Corporate Governance. She has served and continues to serve on numerous local and multinational boards. Succeeding Ms. Benedicta was Mr. Femi Ekundayo, DFIOD. Mr. Femi Ekundayo was the 9th president and chairman of the Governing Council of the Institute from 2005 to 2007. Apart from being a past president of the Institute, he is also a former president of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, an erudite banker and finance expert, having served on various boards. During his tenure, he championed the acquisition of the IOD property at 53 Glover Road, Ikoyi, Lagos. Late Chief Isaac Olushola Dada, MFR DFIOD, succeeded Mr. Femi as the 10th president of the Institute from 2007 to 2009. He was a chartered stockbroker and seasoned administrator. During his tenure, he successfully moved the secretariat to the acquired property on Glover Street, Ikoyi, Lagos. Late Chief Dada was an enthusiastic learner who moved the public sector as a super permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance into the private sector and eventually became a force in the Nigerian capital market landscape. Dada, fondly called IOD using his initials Isaac Olushola Dada, passed on in the year 2017. Joining the annals of visionary leaders in IOD Nigeria was Mr. Chike Uwanze, DFIOD. He served as the 11th president and chairman of the Governing Council of the Institute from 2009 to 2011. He is an accomplished chartered stockbroker of high repute. During his tenure, he successfully repositioned IOD Nigeria and put in place new strategies for the development of directors and business leaders. His leadership brought about strategic engagements with key allies like the U.S. Department of Commerce, Trade and Business Development, the Lagos Business School, Pan-African University, and the public sector. Succeeding Mr. Wanze was Architect Thomas Awagu, DFIOD. Architect Thomas Awagu was the 12th president and chairman of the Governing Council from 2011 to 2013. A seasoned architect who sits on the board of many public and private companies, Architect Awagu made it his policy thrust to position IOD Nigeria in line with IOD United Kingdom and provided a conducive environment where members can interact and meet on a regular basis. His tenure brought about the establishment of the IOD Port Harcourt branch. Taking over the mantle of leadership from Architect Awagu was Chief Mrs. Eniola Fadayomi, DFIOD. Chief Mrs. Eniola Fadayomi was the 13th president and chairman of the Governing Council and the 3rd female president of the Institute from 2013 to 2015. She is a 2-time former Attorney General of Lagos State, and her goal as the 13th president was to see IOD members adhere to the principle of corporate governance, integrity, and enterprise while also developing professionally as directors. During her tenure, the first edition of the Advanced Company Direction Program, ACDP, was held in the IOD United Kingdom. In 2014, IOD Nigeria joined the African Corporate Governance Network, Her leadership also inspired the commencement of a public policy lecture series, which was addressed by notable public officers, and the creation of a register of independent directors. Succeeding Chief Mrs. Eniola was Mr. Samuel Yemi Akeju, DFIOD. Mr. Samuel Yemi Akeju, DFIOD, was the 14th President and Chairman of the Governing Council of the Institute from 2015 to 2017. A distinguished marketing and business strategist of international repute who ensured that all the Institute's programs and events were top class. During his tenure, he saw the successful establishment of the Abeokuta branch of the Institute. His leadership brought about the launch of the Independent Directors Register and sustained IOD Nigeria's international visibility and collaboration. He also saw to the sustainability of the relationship between IOD Nigeria and the public sector through numerous courtesy visits to the federal government key agencies and parastatals. Taking over the mantle of leadership from Mr. Akeju was Alhaji Ahmed Rufai Mohammed, DFIOD. Alhaji Ahmed Rufai Mohammed served as the 15th President and Chairman of the Governing Council of the Institute from 2017 to 2019. A professional investment manager and seasoned administrator, during his tenure, he made it his policy thrust to sustain the legacies, standards, and ethics set by IOD Nigeria's founders and enhanced IOD's visibility as the foremost guardian for the advocacy of good governance in our national and private institutions. His visionary leadership inspired the development of the Institute Code of Ethics for directors and staff of the Institute and the birth of the IOD Young Directors Forum. He also initiated various reforms in the governance structure of the Institute, which ensured stability. Succeeding Alhaji Rufai was Chief Chris Olufunlola Okunowo, DFIOD. Chief Chris Okunowo, DFIOD, was the 16th President and the immediate past President of the Institute from 2019 to 2021. A professional lawyer and a seasoned businessman with over 35 years of experience in property development, aviation, and banking. As the 16th President, Chief Chris Okunowo ensured the deepening of the engagement with the Institute stakeholders. He led the Institute through the challenging period of COVID-19 pandemic and ensured that the Institute dynamically embraced technology and delivered quality services and programs during the trying period. To champion efficiency in the Secretariat services and operations, he initiated the automation of all the operations of the Institute with the launch of an enterprise resource planning system. His tenure also witnessed the turning of the sod for the new IOD towers. The current president is Dr. Mrs. E.J. Jidemma, FIOD. Dr. E.J. Jidemma, FIOD, is the 17th President and Chairman of the Governing Council of the Institute from 2021 till date. An accomplished management consultant and professional, she holds a PhD in psychology with a specialization in psychometrics from the University of Lagos. She is the founder and chief executive of Leading Edge Consulting and has consulted for SMEs, indigenous companies, the public sector, multilateral organizations, and international non-governmental organizations. Her tenure focused on the future readiness of the Institute, championed inclusivity, diversity, and sustainability, and deepened the strategic partnerships with strategic institutions like the University of Lagos, Lagos Business School, PwC Nigeria, and the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria. She initiated numerous projects that ensure the Institute is future-ready and sustainable. These leaders have helped shape the IOD's legacy of excellence in leadership development. Their vision and commitment to ethical business practices have had a profound impact on the organization and on the wider business community. The IOD Nigeria's success over the past 40 years is a testament to the enduring legacy of these leaders who have helped establish it as one of the most respected and influential organizations in the Nigeria business landscape.